All right, friends, welcome back. We are almost ready to go. I forgot one thing I want to do here, and that is get us some green tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4. These will be for our dash action. So, just to catch up from what I did while we were offline, just cleaned things up across the table, got rid of all the resources. Our newest survivor is Elsie, so she is in the pool, ready to go whenever needed. Already applied departing bonuses to everybody, even though we technically haven't departed yet. So we are bringing back with us Leandros, who is now taking over the spear from Zachary. Still has the dagger on the bone grid, just so I can activate the rawhide bonus here. So he's kind of building up our secondary tank set. Didn't mean to have both Dridacanthus on him. Urza coming with us again, as well as Alba. Alba now bringing the catgut bow with her. Notable rule here on the catgut bow is cumbersome, which means she has to use her movement and action in order to fire it. So she's got the bone darts as a backup in case that's not an option. Although with dash, that kind of does open up some options there. And then couldn't bring him with us last time because he had, I think it was ruptured Achilles or something like that. But Alistair is back with us. I do need to get his mini back. That was this one. Reassign it. Oh, also forgot. Apologies to anybody who was hearing me doing stuff in the background during the break. One of those things I've got to kind of get used to. All right, so Alistair is a beast for us because he got lucky enough to draw Monster Claw style for his age. So +1 accuracy, +1 strength when using Fist and Tooth. He's always using Fist and Tooth, so that's reflected over in the overlay, as well as Savage, which means if and when he crits, he will deal an extra wound once per round. So hopefully Alistair is going to be an all-star for us. I think that's everything worth talking about. Zach, you can head off to the side. That should be everything. So let's go ahead and set up this hunt phase. So we are going after a white lion once again. I would like to hunt the antelope, but there's still just a couple things I want from the lion first. Actually, let me think about this. Screw it. Let's get one antelope happening here. I've changed my mind. All right. Antelope. Ready to go. So let's learn us about an antelope. One. All right, this guy is wild. There was once a fearsome monster that was trained by the hand to be a steed for the goblin. However, upon smelling its new master, the monster's mind shattered and it ran into the unknown, foaming at the mouth and biting the noses off the stone-faced floor. Yeah, this thing's crazy. So, addendum. The hand, that is somebody we will meet later. The goblin, no clue. I don't think they have been featured anywhere else in the game as of yet. So here's our friend, the antelope. Don't worry too much about that. I'm sure that's not going to be important. You're right. I do need to update the antelope. Thank you. Because I was not planning on hunting one. I'll get the stats ready to go in just a minute once I get his card set up. But let's just do our hunts. So let's see who is coming up first. We are going to start with, that is Leandros. Did they become disconnected? What happened? No. Yeah. So what is it? Leandros is this one. Stampede. A thunderous boom approaches. The survivors may hide. If they do, move the quarry one space back. Otherwise, all survivors gain +1 courage and the event revealer rolls 1d10. I'm okay with gaining a courage on everybody. That actually triggers bold for Urza. And, you know, let's just see what happens to Leandros. Sure, it won't be too bad. 10. See? Easy. Just roll. What did I forget? You're saying I forgot rules. What did I forget? I think I did the last fight just fine. Don't just start guessing rules. The survivors corner one of the stampeding antelopes. Start the showdown immediately. Let's go. Before we do that, let's do Urza's bold. She hit 3 courage. So it happened during the hunt phase. Expect the unexpected. You are prepared to face any mind-bending trials at a moment's notice. Where others may falter, you forge ahead, meeting the journey head on. Gain the following ability and roll on table below. She gains prepared. So when we determine a straggler, which we have not had to do yet, but it will happen, she gets to add her hunt XP to the roll result. That's cool. Also, I forgot to update her on the overlay there. She does have 2 hunt XP. So she gets her bold with prepared. And then roll a d10. 9. That sounds good. Gain +1 permanent strength. She's a beast. Let's go ahead and give her that right now here. And we just get to start the hunt. Awesome. Listen. Why you gotta bring up old stuff? All right, so we get to just set up our showdown. So this one's going to be a bit different. Oh, we got some fun stuff here. All right, so let me take a quick look at his stats. So he will be starting off with 11 wounds, just like the lion. Movement 6, toughness 8. So the thing about Node 2 monsters, which is what the Screaming Antelope is considered, statistically, they're pretty comparable to Node 1 monsters. The only thing that makes them a higher level is they add extra complexity as far as like how they fight and things you got to deal with. So notably, if you'll see here, he starts off with this trample. So when a monster collides with the survivor, they suffer damage equal to the monster's level in a random hit location. So with the white lion, let's just use Leandros here as an example. So if the monster was moving around and ended their turn on top of the survivor, they would take damage. So the antelope, even if he passes through and ends his turn here, the survivor still takes damage. This is where you get into some interesting things with game design. The lion is a predator. The antelope is prey. So the antelope's going to be running around a lot. So we got to try and be aware of that at all times. As for terrain, the antelope sets up with all kinds of terrain. So the antelope starts off with 3 acanthus, which means actually 6 acanthus tiles, because each acanthus card has 2 tiles, 1 bug patch that is always set in a very specific area. And so the acanthus normally has special rules. For this, you kind of override those rules and just set up the acanthus within this diamond. And then we still have the 2 random cards, which looks like we got some fun stuff there. And instead of starting off in around the monster, the survivors start off at the left and right edges. So, Lantis, question: are you talking about in the game, or are you talking about in real life? Because I have a different answer. In the game. Not yet. That is a feature that they intend to add as they continue development of the game. This is still in a very beta state. I believe on their personal tracker, as far as features are concerned, the game is approximately 20% complete. Oh my gosh, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. So if you check out their website, you can get a little more info there. Yeah, so there's still a lot of features coming. Content-wise, the game is almost one-to-one with the tabletop version. All of the singular expansions are in the game. It's still missing the large Gambler's Chest expansion, which is essentially like version 2.0 of the entire game. It adds so much stuff. Their target was to have it out last year. Still a little unsure on that. The current rumors are that it'll be ready by Gen Con time, so late summer. There's also, they have some of the what are known as the white box expansions. It's just like a single character with like some extra stuff for the game. But yeah, content-wise, the game is almost one-to-one with the tabletop version. Feature-wise, there's still a lot that they're working on. There's some figures I own that have like beta automations and stuff that's gonna be some fun stuff to deal with in the future. So yeah, let's take a quick field trip. We got time. So let's take a little tour through our house. See all these doors? Right now, none of these doors go anywhere. But if we head upstairs, there's a mysterious door with a lock on it. Nobody's figured out how to open this yet, probably because it can't be opened. But we're assuming amongst the players that this is going to be the painting studio. As for in real life, I actually spent a good portion of the afternoon today priming some of my models. I can finally get started on painting them, hopefully this weekend. We'll see how things go. But that's exciting. Stocked up my paint supplies end of last year. Really excited to get going on those. So let's see what we got going on here. So acanthus, again, in this diamond, 4 spots away. So we just kind of, I like to stack them up. Goodness. We also have the bug patch. What is this? All right, so acanthus, we know what that means. Bug patch. So the bug patch has to stay here. Something we can go try to gather when we get there. We've got ourselves a nightmare tree. Trust me, people have tried all kinds of things. So this is an obstacle. It's impassable. And then once per showdown, each survivor can attempt to get something from it. Probably not going to be doing that, but we'll see. Like there's Broken Lantern is, Lonely Ant is probably going to be ignoring the tree. Spoilers. See this guy? This is the lonely tree. What was my command? Campaign rules? Yeah! Okay, so this is our first time playing this campaign. We're playing it vanilla, out of the box, no additional expansions. This is an expansion we can add into the game at a later date, and we will absolutely do so. This is pretty much the only time we're not going to be using the tree. The tree is going to be part of every campaign going forward. And then the last thing we've got here is a survivor corpse. If a survivor moves through the space occupied by this terrain, they suffer brain damage equal to the monster level. Not cool. And then we can scavenge it, which we absolutely will do. So we're actually just going to start somebody next to this. As far as where we are, so we've got Urza's going to be front and center. Alistair's going to be nearby. Alba. And Leandros will start off there so you can deal with that corpse. Also, got some stone noses. Didn't forget it that time. So Alistair and Urza will each get a survival and an insanity. Urza is still at maximum, maximum survival. That'll bring Alistair up to 2, and he's got 6 insanity. Insanity is going to be good for this fight. We're going to want to be a little insane. And I think we are ready to go. Just double checking, making sure I'm not forgetting any rules. Should be all right. So as always, monster goes first with a great kick. Random survivor in blind spot. Nobody's in the blind spot. Furthest threat in field of view in range. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. Nobody is in range. That's good. No target. Graze. So what does graze do? Well, graze is the reason we've got all these plants around. The monster full moves to the closest acanthus plant and ends its turn. If the monster is on or adjacent to an acanthus plant, archive the terrain and heal 1 wound. If there's no acanthus plants, does other stuff. So what that means is we're going to want to pick all of these sooner rather than later. Because if we start getting towards the end of the fight, he's just going to keep grazing and healing those wounds, which we don't want to do. But for now, we'll just move him over here. I think full move. Yeah, I think he just ends there. And then he'll eat one of them. We'll say he eats this one. But he has no wounds to heal, so no worries there. Yes, that is the gambler himself. So that is not currently available in the simulator, but I do have that model. It was wild to build. I'm going to assume it's going to be equally wild to paint. So that's all we've got here. So let's move on to our survivors. Let's see. I don't think anybody's in range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, nobody's in range. So we'll just have Urza step up. And we're actually going to do something we have not typically done. Should have done this last fight as well. And that is use our Rawhide Headband. Whoops. So this lets us look at the top 2 cards of the AI deck. Pick one. Put it on top. And put the other one also there. So we get to essentially choose what the monster is going to do this next turn. So we've got back kick. That's fine. It's going to target Urza. 1 speed, 3 damage, but Urza can dodge, so that's not too bad. Or slam, closest knockdown survivor, furthest threat in field of view. That sounds like something we probably don't want to deal with right now. So we're going to put back kick on top. And everybody else is just going to do chores. So Leandros, let's see what we can get from this survivor corpse. 2, gain 1 insanity and archive the terrain. Boo. And he's just going to kind of screw it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somebody had something else. Or was that Zachary? Urza also had Order of Death. Yeah, Zachary was my other order. That would have been nice, but oh well. Yeah, everybody else is just going to kind of get into position. Ah. There we go. So I could have Alba attack with the bone darts, but I don't want to do that, like, because I kind of want the back kick to be the attack for this turn. Could have done it the other way around, put back kick second, but then that would require Alba to deal a wound in order to get to it, and that's a little sketchy. So we're just gonna chill out. Nobody else. Don't think there's any other actions. I just want to double check. Yeah. So that's it for our turn. Which means we are going to, draw back kick. So blind spot in range, nobody. But now this tells us, hey, if you're standing in the blind spot, you might be in danger. Closest threat in range, we've already determined, is Urza, which is what we want. So it's going to move, attack, and specifically turn so that the target is in the blind spot. So speed 1, accuracy 3, but Urza has quite a bit of evasion. So this is actually going to be hitting on a 6. That does hit. It's going to be 3 damage. I'm not even going to bother to roll because Urza is not going to take 3 damage. She's just going to dodge it. Let's see if she gets her survival back. She does. This is why Rawhide is so good. That's why I'm working on building a second set. So that is that. Now we can start doing work. Picking the flowers is a secondary objective, but doing damage is what we're here for. So I'm going to have Urza step around to the front because that's her job. And let's see, no other bonuses. So just like last time, hitting on 6s. That is 2 hits, 1 perfect hit. That does not currently matter. Oh, wait. No. Yes, she has Quixotic. She was not insane when she departed. She is now insane, but she was insane when she arrived, but not insane when she departed. I knew there was something I was forgetting. But, all right, that's fine. So that is 2 hits. Perfect hit doesn't really matter right now. Whoopsie. I got to remember to do the number pad thing that Shroom was telling me about. So, nothing there. Nothing of note there. So, we'll just start with the Fairy Tail. So, she has 3 strength on her axe. She has 2 strength on herself. So, she is wounding on a 3. Of course. Wounding on a 3. There we go. So now we know Slam is here, but Slam gets to go into the wound stack. That is our first wound on the antelope. So this is just like helpful information. Like, hey, when you're fighting the antelope, clubs, shields, like blunt force weapons are good against the antelope. Unfortunately, not a ton of good blunt force weapons available to us at this point in the game. But that ends Urza's action. Who do we want to go next? I mean, they're all good options, really. Let's just have Leandros step up this way. He is our new spear user, so he can stand here. Leandros is hitting on 6s with the spear. That is no hits. Womp womp. And then again, just for my own bookkeeping purposes, I'm going to check off the axe proficiency now for Urza because she did deal a wound. Alistair, so again, like we know, we probably don't want to be sitting in this blind spot. So this is where Monster Claw style is going to come in handy. Alistair does have that extra accuracy from it, although he is still only hitting on 7s. No hits. This is where maybe we would have chanced the blind spot. Actually, it probably would have been worth going into the blind spot because we know back kick is already in the discard pile. So that's something we're going to have to keep in mind for later. I don't know if he has multiple back kicks, but I guess we'll find out. And then Alba. So again, the bow is cumbersome, which means she has to spend her movement and her action. But that's fine. She's in range. She can do that. So 2 speed hitting on 7s. That is 1 hit. All right, Restless Hoof. All kinds of stuff here. Let's just see what happens. So this is a Strength 3 weapon. Yes, Strength 3. Alba is a strong girl with 2 strength of her own, so she is just wounding on a 5. We're at it again, team. No, she's wounding on a 3. Sorry. Yes, so she's at 5 strength, so she is wounding on a 3. We're good. So, of note here, right? If you're fighting this guy with Fist and Tooth, which I'm going to remind you, Alistair does have, there are negative options here. But yes, that was a wound. And then I'm going to check off a weapon proficiency here, even though she doesn't have... That's the wrong person. I'm going to check off a weapon proficiency, even though she doesn't have one, because that's going to be relevant later if it ever comes up. As long as she doesn't die. So that is the end of our survivor's turn. We get to go on to the monster, who has Bite. Closest survivor in field of view. Guess what? That's Urza. 1 speed, 2 accuracy. So this is actually going to be hitting on 5s. 1 hit. Urza's just going to dodge that because that's what she does. She does not get the survival back this time, though. That's fine. Because I'd like to avoid getting those bleeding tokens if at all possible. Back around, and we're just going to do exactly what we did before. Starting off with Urza. Hitting on 6s. 2 perfect hits! My goodness, get this girl some fighting arts. I forgot to do the thing. Oh well, maybe next time. All right, reflex. That's not great. But, yeah, it is what it is. So we're going to do this one first. See? Good thing we weren't in the blind spots. Okay. So again, Urza is an absolute beast, wounding on 3s. That is a wound. unfortunately, this is just gonna happen. But like this wouldn't have been much better either. So because this would have targeted. Oh no, this is blind spot, not Urza. Yeah, so nothing bad here. So this is gonna happen no matter what. So Alistair is in some danger here, but let's at least deal a wound when we get there, huh? Thanks. Okay, so Ferocious Spasm. One at a time, target each survivor in the zone of death and perform basic action. So we're going to start with Urza. So basic action is to speed, hitting her on 5s. That is 2 hits. So Urza is currently attacking, which means she cannot dodge. So she's going to take 1 damage each to the body and the head. That's why she's got armor. You know who doesn't have armor? Alistair. Alistair at least has 1 evasion to his name. So Alistair is not attacking, so he does have the opportunity to dodge if he chooses. That is 2 hits on Alistair. He will be taking 1 damage each to the legs and the hands. That's fine. We will deal with that. That is that one. Let's let Alistair go next. So he's hitting on those 7s. That is 1 perfect hit to the restless inner thigh. Ooh, okay, so we got some good stuff happening here. So Alistair, he has 2 strength, so he is wounding on a 6, critting on a 9, thanks to his fist and tooth. Or just rolls a 1. Like, that's an option. You could just roll a 1. Getting flashbacks here, team. Let's move on to Leandros. 6s, 2 hits. All right, let's see if I can remember this. 2. Hey, that works. Still a little fiddly with what we got to do here, but that's fine. All right, so we've got palette. It's not great, but we can deal with that. Restless Tiny Hands. Okay. Guess we'll start off with the palette. So Leandros is another mighty fighter, hitting on, or I'm sorry, wounding on 3s. So palette, that is a wound. And Restless Tiny Hands. That is not a wound, so we have a failure. All right, Grasping Tiny Hands make rude gestures at you. Startled, you gain +1 insanity and lose your composure. He must spend his action to regain his senses before he can attack again. I'm sure I'll remember that. But he does get an insanity out of the deal. That's fine. So all that's left is Alba. Again, she is hitting on 7s. 2 hits. Alba is doing work. Yeah, I like these better, just drawing them 1 at a time. Gives us more more mystique for the trap. Attacking melee weapon. Okay, so that's completely irrelevant for her because she's ranged. And the Restless Muzzle. All right, so neither one's super important. So she is wounding on a 3. That is a wound. All right, so if attacking with a melee weapon, and the wound roll for this location is 1 or 2, so none of that matters. So yeah, nothing else matters on this card. And then Restless Muzzle. That is also a wound. Again, nothing super relevant here. All right, so we're doing work. And we're not in the clear yet, but we're getting there. Might want to start picking some flowers soon, though. I'd love to also get down to this bug patch, but that's some work. Anyway, let's see what the monster is doing next. Bolt. Closest knockdown survivor. That's nobody. Furthest threat in range. That is going to be Alba. So move and attack. So let's see here. Yeah, so either way, poor Alistair is going to get collided here. So I think he's going to take damage. He's going to be knocked down, and I think knockback 5. Let's double check that ruling. I should know this. No, collision is C, not K. If the monster ends its movement on survivor, they collide, suffer collision, and knockback 5. Okay. So yeah, knockback 5, knocked down, and he's going to take some damage. We'll get to you in a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knocked down. Now you get to go here. And then because of the monster rule, takes 1 damage to a random hit location. That is 1 damage to the body. Alistair, bud, you're getting a little beat up here. Now back to what we're doing here. Accuracy 2+. Alba has 1 evasion. So it's hitting on a 3. That is a hit, so she will take 1 damage to the head. She's gonna dodge that because we don't want to do that. So she's just gonna spend a survival. And then full move the Screaming Antelope in a straight line away from all survivors. I need to remember I have dash. I don't think it would have been... Yes, so I could have dashed Alistair out of the way. Sam, you're forgetting the rules again. Forgot it. I picked up dash. So away from all survivors is going to be this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll get to the board edge and stop there. So now we might be picking some flowers. So let's get to our turn. First thing, Urza's going to stand up Alistair. She does not get the survival back. Okay. That's not fun. The Urza is just going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put herself in the line of danger. Alistair, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to pick this Acanthus. Also, I'm going to have Urza Rawhide Headband in just a second. Alistair gets a 3. Nothing. And then Alba's going to step back and do the same. Should have just left that up. 4. Nothing. Yeah, let's handle this Rawhide Headband. So we have Bite or Bolt. don't want Bolt, so we're going to put Bite on top. Leandros. Yeah, that's fine. So actually, I'm going to say Urza Rawhide Headbanded first, and she's going to stay here. Yeah, that makes more sense to bring the monster back in. But Leandros is going to roll on this Acanthus. Small retcon there, but game state hadn't actually changed, so I think that's fine. 9, so he gets a fresh Acanthus. So, fun fact, we're actually out of dried Acanthus. We can only build 3, and we have all 3 of them. So, fresh Acanthus is just going to hang out in storage for a while. But that does mean if we use our dried Acanthus, we can make some new ones. All right, so that's everybody's turn. Back around to the monster, who is going to bite. So closest survivor in field of view is Urza. So just like before, hitting on a 5. Misses. Cool. All that evasion finally coming into work. Or actually, I'm sorry, that was hitting on a 4, not a 5. Right? No, hitting on a 5. I had it right. Yes, it has actually occurred to me. Nope, I have it right. I'm second guessing myself here. I'm not used to getting things correct. Yeah, so we're good there. That's the end of the monster's turn. Starting off, so we're running a little low on the wounds here. So I really need Alistair to get a hit in here. Where I wish I had Surge, but it is what it is. Alistair, looking for 7s. Gets a hit. The Restless Flank. That's fine. We can deal with that. So again, Alistair is wounding on a 6. Ugh. I'm not going to get my Fist and Tooth proficiency in this fight. We might drag it out once we get to the end. Just to get that done. But we're not at the end yet, and we would like to get rid of Bolt. So let's just let Urza go next. Hitting on 6s. No hits. Leandros will step up. Also hitting on 6s. 1 hit. We're also getting close to that trap. All right, so Leandros wounding on a 3. That is a wound, so Bolt goes away. That's good. Nothing else of note on that card. Last one is going to be Alba. She's probably okay to stay there. Not crazy about it, but sure. So Alba is hitting on a 7. Yes, hitting on 7s. That is 2 hits. That's not great. Oh, no trap. Okay. Nothing of note there. Ugh. That's suboptimal. No, okay, we'll be okay with that, because we can have the monster run this way. But first of all, we're going to do the Restless Back, because that one will put it out of range. So she's wounding on a 3. That is a wound. I think I might have forgotten a wound on the overlay. We'll find out. I trust the cards. The overlay is prone to error because it's me. Looking for another 3 here. That is a 3. So yeah, let me just double check. How much do I have in here? Whoops. Messing stuff up. There we go. Yeah, so there's only one card left, so it means he's down to 2 wounds. Thought I missed one somewhere. But as far as antelope fights go, this one's fairly under control. Just really need to focus on Alistair getting that wound in. Yeah, so that is everybody's action. So only thing Monster has left is Bite. So again, just going to keep going after Urza here. Hitting on a 5. Oh, okay. Does Urza want to dodge? She's down to her last survival. Well, let's see what we roll for a hit location. 2 damage to the legs. I think that's acceptable. She gains a bleeding token. That's fine. We can handle a bleeding token. All right, back around to our turn. Most important thing is Alistair getting a wound here. And we know there's nothing left in his deck for blind spot shenanigans. Maybe in the hit location. Oh, but we're getting close to the trap. So I can send Alistair into attack and risk drawing the trap. Or I can send someone else to attack and risk ending the fight before Alistair can get his wound in. I don't... Is there a button? I don't want to inspect. I think there's a keyboard shortcut where I can look to see how many cards are left in the deck, but I don't know it offhand, and I don't want to go searching around. All right. Alistair is pretty beat up, too. I think I make one... Yeah. I think I make one attack with Urza. No. Yes, Urza. Because if it's Alba, it's bad stuff's going to happen. Yeah. I think this is the smart play. We can get weapon proficiency later. No hits anyway. Cool. What about Leandros? 1 hit. All right. I'm actually hoping for the trap here. It's not the trap. Shoot. We're definitely going to wound this, though. So, theoretically, it needs a 1 to wound. However, 1s always fail. So, 2 or higher. Yeah. So... All right. Blood and spittle erupt from the screaming antelope's wounded undermaw. If the wound roll result is even, it was not, suffer 1 brain damage. The wound roll result is odd, gain 1 insanity. I mean, Leandros doesn't really need more insanity, but he'll take it. All right, so I think the smart thing to do here is just give it another turn. Can I get Alba anywhere? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I move Alba here, she can at least try to gather an Acanthus. And she does. So that is going to end our turn. I'm just so terrified of this trap. I cannot have Alistair draw the trap. So we're just to the monster. Does his basic action. Closest knockdown survivor. Nobody. No target. Graze, which honestly, that's okay. So as we said before, graze. Full move to the nearest Acanthus, which he's already on, and heal 1 wound. I'm actually okay with healing a wound right now. So I think he just takes the top one off the discard pile. Let's double check. Heal. When the monster performs heal, return that number of AI cards from the wound stack to the bottom of the AI deck without looking at them. While there is no bottom of the AI deck, but we already know what that card is anyway. But that is the monster's action, so it's back around to us. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start off with Urza. Hit the right buttons. There we go. Hitting on 6s. Urza, please. Okay. Let's think about this. So the smart thing to do, because again, there's just stuff that's going to happen here. I'm going to move Leandros here for his attack, hitting on 6s. 1 hit. Still haven't found the trap. All right, wounding on a 3. Doesn't wound. Like, that's actually a best case scenario right now. Yeah, so we're going to move Alba here. Because again, like, I'm assuming I'm drawing the trap at some point in the immediate future. So I just want to make sure the monster has a clear path without running over anybody. Which means she did move, so she just has to throw the bone dart, hitting on a 7. Gets a perfect hit. I swear, if the trap is the last card in this freaking deck, my goodness. Oh no! If the attacker hits this location with a frail weapon, it is damaged. Archive the weapon at the end of this attack. And the bone darts are frail. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Okay, there it is. Oh, well. Whoops. These things happen. We can always just make another bone dart. I doubt we will, though. So, same strength as the bow. So she is wounding on a 3. That's, again, I'm okay with that. And we're not going to have Alistair attack. At this point, it would have been safe to have him attack 2 turns ago, but it is what it is. And then we know what this is because we've seen it before. It is Bite, which is just going to continue going after Urza, hitting on 5s. Although Urza is starting to run a little low on resources, so we can't do this forever. 1 hit. 2 damage to the waist. That's acceptable. Urza's down to her last survival, so I'm trying to be a little conservative with it. In the grand scheme of things, like, we're still doing okay. All right. Let's try this again. Back to our turn. Urza, for the love of God, hit the monster. 1 hit. Still haven't drawn the trap. First strike, doesn't matter, it's the only one. Screaming Animal's massive eyes glisten with human-like fear. If the attacker is insane, cancel all hits and end their attack. And Urza is currently insane. That's fine. Just getting us closer to the trap. Leandros gets 1 hit. Jeez. Wounds on that one. So we're back down to 1 wound. Your blow clips the screaming antelope's shoulder and it jumps back. Turn to face the attacker, then without turning, move the monster one space directly away from the attacker. Cancel all hits now out of range. Well, that's unfortunate. So yeah, it's going to turn again. Like we're at an angle. I don't want it to go that way. So it's going to collide with Urza, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knocked down. And she'll take 1 damage to her hands. I think that's fine. That is perfectly fine. And then he scoots there. Because now we're on to basic action. That's probably okay. I don't want it to graze right now, but attacking Urza is not the worst thing. That's what we want. So what I am going to do, though, is make sure Alistair is in range when eventually he might get a chance to attack. Yeah, that's our turn. We're going to leave Urza down. That's our best bet right now. So again, basic action. Closest knockdown survivor in range. Doot. So hitting on 5s. 1 hit with 1 damage to her legs. We're okay with that. We'll take 1 damage to the legs. Which means Urza does get to stand up. Since she started the monster's turn knocked down. We're definitely drawing the trap here. All right, Leandros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. 5. We're definitely drawing the trap here. 2 hits. Okay. There it is. Finally. My God. The screaming antelope panics, its undermouth unleashing in an inhuman wail. It bucks wildly and leaps into the air. The attacker is doomed. All survivors adjacent to the monster suffer 2 brain damage per monster level. So that is Urza. 2 brain damage. She's got plenty of insanity. Well, not plenty, but she has enough insanity. Knockback 5 and are knocked down. So I think she collides with the tree, which means she takes 1 damage to her body. Because the tree is impassable terrain. Where is it? Oops. Yeah. Cannot move through spaces. So yeah, she'll collide there. Block survivor in monster field of view, interrupts range weapon attacks, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she collides and takes a damage. What else have we got going on here? Nobody else is adjacent. The monster lands on its belly and begins to slide on its teeth. Turn the monster directly away from the attacker and full move forward in a straight line. So again, Leandros is at a diagonal, so we get to kind of choose. We're not going to have it run over Urza again. That would be bad. So he's going to go this way, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which should be kind of exactly where we wanted him. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so we finally drew the stupid trap. All right, so we're kind of at a point where we've given Alistair every possible opportunity. If he doesn't wound on this, he's not getting any second chances. Because now we're at a point where the antelope's just going to go wild. We might be able to get 1 more turn thanks to Urza being knocked down. But again, Urza is starting to run low on resources. So let's just finish it. We're actually going to even move into the blind spot, which is not the safest place to be, but we need to take a chance. So he's hitting on 6s now with his 1 normal accuracy from Monster Claw style. Alistair, you incredible fuck up. Jesus. Nobody else can even try. Alba is going to move to a better position. But that's that. So we do have an option here for basic. So again, just going to move to attack, and we are able to sidestep Alistair, thankfully. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just in range. Urza still gets the full benefit of all of her stuff, even though she's knocked down. So hitting on 5s, that is 1 hit with 1 damage to her body. That's acceptable. All right, this is literally Alistair's last chance to get this done. Hitting on 6s. 1 hit. Just don't fail. Just don't fail. Wounding on a 6. Like, this is like the one thing I didn't want him to draw, but it is what it is. Crit would be fantastic. Let's just roll a 6. 50% chance of success. It is a crit! Oh! Fisted Tooth gets +1 luck, so he crits on a 9. That was the longest journey in history to get a wound, but we did it, and we did it in the most dramatic way possible, so I'm going to take it. Critical wound, gain 1 Screaming Antelope resource, and then the stupid thing is dead. So actually, I need to archive my White Lion resources. Go find my Screaming Antelope resources. For all that trouble, Alistair gets a large flat tooth. That's actually pretty good. I think this does something. Survivor of my choice gains +1 insanity. We'll give that to Urza. She's running a bit low, and we want her to be insane if possible. We've done it. We finally beat the stupid antelope. Oh, that was harder than it needed to be. Anyway, let's see what happens for beating the antelope. So again, usual stuff, XP, weapon proficiencies, blah, blah, blah. So that means Leandros will level up. We've already said we're giving him spear proficiency. And we already checked off. No, we did not check off his box yet. I think I might have checked off somebody else's box on accident. Urza gets an XP. I know I already checked off her axe. Alba, she's going to level up. She's going to choose bow proficiency. That's the one that I checked off when I thought it was Andros. For some reason, I keep getting those two mixed up. And then Alistair, God, finally gets that check in Fisted Tooth proficiency. So that triggers Age for both Alba and Leandros. Again, I already gave them their proficiency, so they just need to roll on the table. Starting with Leandros, he gets a 10. That's, yeah, definitely a fighting art. What's he get? He gets Timeless Eye. This is a good one. So attack roll is a perfect hit on a 9 or a 10. So on its own, this doesn't really do anything, but if we get things later on that synergize with perfect hits, that'll be helpful. And then Alba gets a 6. That's something different. +1 permanent strength. Alba is getting a little beastly. Cool. All right, so back to our antelope. All right, so for our rewards, we get the Stone Circle settlement event. When the monster is defeated, if any non-deaf survivor has 20 or more insanity, they're driven mad by the screaming and vanish into the darkness. Not a problem. And then we gain 4 basic resources and 4 Screaming Antelope resources. So let's shuffle up. We get a question mark, a hide, and an organ. That's pretty great. And then we get another flat tooth, a shank bone, and a pelt. That's probably the best we can hope for. We get another insanity. That goes on to Urza. So that can finally trigger her Quixotic now that she is insane before the next fight. And we are good to go. All right, so back to our settlement. Everybody returns. Again, bookkeeping will be done at a later time. Gain our endeavors. So 1 for each returning. And then a 5th for Urza having Tinker. Update timeline. Do we have anything going on here? Okay. So we get a settlement event, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit. So let's see what we draw here. Please don't be another heat wave. It's not a heat wave. Right? Oh, God, this one sucks. If there are less than 2 returning survivors, discard rivalry and draw a new event. Select 2 random returning survivors. They begin to argue and their screams rouse the settlement. So our 2 random survivors are going to be Alistair and Leandros. All right, we roll a d10, see what happens. A 6. The 2 rivals immediately come to blows. Randomly choose one of the 2 rivals to suffer the gaping chest wound severe injury. Add rivalry to the next year on the timeline. So we have rerolls. Like, we're going to use them. So let's see who would get the gaping chest wound. And they'll use their reroll on this. Because gaping chest wound is basically going to sideline them forever anyway. So Alistair. So yeah, Alistair is going to use his lifetime reroll, which is suboptimal. Oh, actually, no. The way lifetime rerolls work. Let's see if it's in the glossary. Not here. Is it under reroll, maybe? If not, I'll just talk about it, but I would like to have the proof. Reflex, remove, resource. Okay, there's nothing in here about it. But the way lifetime rerolls work is anybody who is present for the event can use their reroll. So we have an entire settlement full of people that we're just going to do. We're going to say Zachary's using his reroll on this one. So again, back here, we're looking for anything outside of that 4 to 8 range, and we're honestly going to keep re-rolling until we get it, because this sucks. 10. Perfect. After hours of yelling, the 2 rivals begin to speak in calm voices. Slowly they come to an understanding. They each gain 1 survival and 1 understanding. So Leandros gets up to 3. Alistair gets up to 3. And I'll mark this understanding on their sheets. Did I miss? Yeah, I think I missed an understanding because Alistair has 1 from somewhere. I'll double check that offline. Not to worry about it. Okay, so this stupid thing is done. Uh, we're just never looking at that again. All right, nothing else of note, so we just get to do our develop. So let's grab all of our goodies and head on over to the resource pile. All right, so we are going to innovate again. So that is an organ. Oh, before we do anything, let's grab that stone circle. So this makes us make the antelope gear. Honestly, nothing super exciting here for me. Maybe if things go a certain way, we might make the antelope armor, but realistically, nothing super fantastic, at least for what we have going on right now. So yes, so we're going to spend an organ, we're going to spend a bone, and we're going to spend a hide to innovate. All right, we have sculpture, not great, and Symposium is the best card in the game. Survival limit +1, that's cool. Let's just do that now. When a survivor innovates, we get to draw 2 extra innovation cards to choose from. Anybody who plays any sort of card game knows drawing extra cards is the most powerful effect possible. Perfect. And sculpture, you will go back in, and now we need to add the Symposium consequences. Nightmare training is a good one. Storytelling is cool. But those get added in. All right, that's great. It took us a while to start innovating, but we actually are off to a fantastic start. All right. So again, we've got all these endeavors. I think, God, do we really just start going for babies? I think we do. There's literally nothing else to spend our stuff on right now. I don't think I'm ready for the weapon crafter. I can't even see that. 3 bone and a hide. Maybe I am ready for the weapon crafter. No. No, I'm definitely not ready for the weapon crafter. If I had 1 more hide, I could be. But we're not there yet. As I need these last 3 hide to make our second rawhide set. Like, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now before anything else happens. I would have loved 1 more to also make a bandages. But I think having our second set is more important. So there's that. We got these bones. Nothing exciting there. So again, like, I've got these flat teeth, which are nice. But the beast knuckle, again, like I would have needed the pelt. So, like the Beast Knuckle is basically just a slightly worse version of the Lion Beast guitar that I'm trying to make here. And no other uses for those specifically. Shank bone, I can make the bone earrings. I don't think that's particular. It's something. Oh, get back in there. Stone circle. Let's see. Start of the showdown, gain 2 speed and 2 strength tokens if insane. Yeah, no. Plus all the gear needs bone, speed. Like, yeah, that's not helping anything. I can make another bone dart to replace the one I lost, which I probably will do. Did I end up archiving that? I did not. I should have. That's okay. So we'll just spend a bone. And I guess I'll just hold on to these. I don't really have anything else super useful for them right now. All right, but innovations, I guess we just need to do some augury to try and trigger intimacy. It's not optimal, but I don't have anything else to spend it on. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. All right. Who do we have that has good understanding? I believe that's Urza. Yeah, Urza has 4 understanding, so we get to add +1 to the roll result. And we can do this 4 times. So we're just going to do that. That's 1 survival, intimacy, intimacy, and 1 survival. So Urza gains 2 survival, and we get to do 2 intimacies. So we're at the point where Zachary and Maria have kind of outlived their usefulness. So if one or both of them dies, that's fine. That is what it is. Intimacy. So again, we take the lower of the 2. That's fine. That's a 9, or sorry, an 8. The settlement gains +1 population. The male and female survivors share a deep bond and gain +10 survival each. If we had the bed innovation, we would get something else. So just because it might be relevant, we'll give them their survival. And we got another baby. And then we'll do that one more time. That is a 7, which is same thing. Cool. So we've got 2 more children to name. So all of this stuff is just going to get archived for a later date. Which is fine. And then there's really only one other thing to talk about. We've done everything that we need to do with the settlement. And that's, what does this mean? So, a nemesis encounter. We are not going to go on a hunt this year. The hunt is coming to us. Showdown. Butcher. So, yep, departing survivors do not have a hunt phase. Instead, select the Butcher's monster level and set up the showdown accordingly. There once was a man who could not hide his fear. He wore a mask that transformed his cowardice to rage. In turn, the man transformed into a monster. All that remained was a devouring fury that stalked the night, collecting the fearful faces of others. He's coming. So please tune back in next week to see what this guy's all about. This is probably the most iconic fight in the entire game. I cannot wait to share it with you all. But before we get to all that, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. YouTube viewers, thank you for your views as well. Greatly appreciate you guys over there. If you would like to watch those VODs, again, YouTube channel right here. And then for those of you on the YouTube, you can find these live streams at twitch.tv/Samodian every Friday night, barring, life stuff popping up in the way. But that's all I've got. Thank you for watching.